Welcome allemaal. Welcome everybody. Sorry, on English of course. Welcome to our monthly Science Meet Business meeting. The topic for today is Oneplanet, and Oneplanet is a new initiative in the region started by IMEC together with Wageningen University, Radboud University Medical Center and Radboud University. And the focus of Oneplanet is on technology innovations in food, health, and in general the environment and durability. I think, and of course many with us, I think that Oneplanet can play a major role in the region to come to more innovative projects and innovative businesses in our region for the next decade. It's a program that runs at least, but probably longer, 10 years. And of course, it's interesting to look at, especially in the healthcare, the validation of all those technologies that will come out of it and bring them successfully to the market. For this, we need a strong cooperation between science and business. And of course, as SMB, who organizes these meetings, Science Meets Business, we are happy to give the floor today, especially to the Oneplanet program and its projects around it. And we do hope that there will be a fruitful cooperation between Oneplanet and, of course, the SMB and Briskr ecosystem that we at this moment have in the region. The program has 4 speakers. Chris van Hoof, he's CEO of the Oneplanet organization in the region. And he will give an overview of some of the cool projects they're working on and how he looks towards the future collaboration in the region with companies and scientists. After that, we have a presentation from 2 companies in the Oneplanet ecosystem. The first is Hans Niendecker, the CEO of Evido, and he will talk about patient empowerment, including the relation to the sensors for information gathering and evaluation. And the second company is Connected Care, represented by Martijn Vastenberg, who will talk about an app they developed to help people eat healthy. And in the presentation, he will talk about the development process and the importance of the cooperation between science and business to bring this in the right way to the market. And last but not least, Harry van Goor will talk about the importance of collaboration in innovation from his perspective as a medical doctor, and especially what kind of things he thinks is important in that development process and to keep it safe. After the presentation, there will be some room to ask questions and some discussion. Program ends around 5 o'clock. After the program, there's still the possibility for online networking. In breakout rooms. I'm dying next time for real bitterballs, but I'm afraid we have to wait a little bit still to meet each other in real life and eat real food. But I suppose we have to be content that it's still possible to meet in this way digital. And I must say, due to the randomness of the online networking, I sometimes had quite interesting conversations that I did not expect. So I invite everybody to really wait around for that. It might lead to very serendipitous meetings. Some rules for the meeting: please keep your microphone off during the presentations. Questions preferably in the chat channel, and sometimes we can ask them after the presentation, and we can also save some for the last part. And the last part from my part in this in the beginning, it is nice for the presenters to keep your video connection open so they can see who they are presenting to. I can tell you that sometimes presenting to a big black screen feels kind of lonely, so it's nice to keep it open. With this is the preliminary remarks, and I would like to invite Chris van Hoof to start his presentation.
Thank you so much. And I'm indeed Chris van Hoof, and my story is about Oneplanet, and it is about chips and health. And I'm not talking about potato chips, but about silicon chips. And it does make sense because IMEC, Wageningen University and Research, and Radboud University and Medical Center work together in Oneplanet to collaborate and to create solutions in the fields of health, nutrition, food, agriculture, and to take them to market. To take them to market not alone, but with you, with customers, with partners. Now, there are huge global and local challenges, and you see them here, but I will phrase them in other words. We pay 4 times for our food. We pay at the store. We pay with our taxes for farm subsidies. We pay at the doctor because food is safe, but not always healthy. And we pay through the impact it has on the environment. And with a growing population, this is not sustainable. And so the mission of OnePlanet is we want to change this. Now, how are we going to do that? Well, there is a 19th century proverb that goes, "An apple a day keeps the doctor away." And that is not completely right, but it is also not completely wrong. And at OnePlanet, we do take inspiration from this vision and we want to apply it better than just that expression. And there's a new expression, a 21st century expression emerging, and it goes, "An app a day keeps the doctor away." And we all know that's definitely not completely right, but it's also not completely wrong. And at OnePlanet, we will take inspiration from this vision and see to apply it as much as possible. Now, both of these expressions hint at prevention, early capturing of problems, and an app a day really reflects the interaction, close interaction with the user, with the patient, between patient and clinician, personalization. And at OnePlanet, we are driven by the mission and inspired by these visions. But how are we going to do this? Well, a big hammer in our toolbox is chip technology and digital technologies. And these innovations come from the IMEC part of the partnership. And IMEC is a world leader in chip and digital technology. Now, why are we convinced that this can make such an impact in these domains? Well, in 50 years, chip technology has led to an incredible revolution in processing power, which has fueled a digital transformation in many sectors. And as a consequence, we now have the ability to predict and prevent problems in several industry segments. Look, for example, at complex machines. Today, digital twins of these machines exist. A virtual model of the real one based on sensoric information and through which we can predict problems, intervene in time, maintain early. And similarly, digital twins of cities are starting to appear, where city planners can plan and assess the impact of changes, road closures, on air quality, on traffic, and so on. And in fact, we have digital twins of the weather. We've had them for a while, and they get better and better and better every year. And you know what's going to come next. Digital twins of us, digital twins of humans. Even more complex, even more daunting. But think of the potential for personalized intervention, for prevention, for treatment, for care. This will require combining and modeling massive amounts of data from diverse sources and information. And maybe at first sight, that sounds rather abstract, but it isn't. It's really about putting the patient in the center and using new forms of data like ingestible sensors to track your gastrointestinal tract and give feedback, nutritional, metabolic health feedback, or to use wearables that monitor mental well-being and interact with the user. And thanks to the new sensors and thanks to digital twin models, we think this will become possible. And it requires new data from new sources, and it also requires analytic innovations. So it's always going to be a combination of hardware and software, devices and analytics. And before OnePlanet started, IMEC already created several wearable devices for health. 4 of them went through medical regulatory approval. It took a lot longer than we initially thought. Sometimes such a trajectory was 5, 6, 7, 8 years, but now 4 of them are on the market. Earlier this week, another one got CE marking. And all of this was possible thanks to chip innovations, because chip innovations allowed us to put a vital sign monitor on a single small chip. And we put that technology to use both for large medical device companies, but also for SMEs and for startups. For example, we created a very compact vital sign monitoring patch, and you see that here. Went through a regulatory process and is now serving up to 1 million patients a year. As it happens, this device was even used in the regulatory process of the Apple Watch. But we also used our chip innovations to help a startup active in maternal and fetal health. So it's not just for big companies. It's for good ideas, great ideas, where we hope to deploy our innovation skills and our digital analytics. We're also working on another use case where digital technology is working towards stress and pain and mental well-being tracking. And you see a device, a workhorse here. We're currently running a number of studies, and we want to take this platform to product and to market with local SMEs, enabled by an IFRO project that is running. And think of we think there's tremendous potential here. We think that translational health breakthroughs are really possible. Using these platforms 4 or 5 months ago, psychiatrists published work, and the conference organization issued a press release because it was so impressive that it turns out, using models and data from these sensors, it was possible to have a state marker with 90% accuracy of depression. And of course, this is not yet a product, but it shows the potential and the promise. And now, let's say, the real work starts towards getting this to the market. And this may take 3-5 years, but the promise is there. Now, to tackle the challenges that I introduced about food and health, we need radically new sensors, ingestible sensors, or even smart toilets. Now, are these just gadgets and gimmicks, or will they make sense? Well, I'll tell you, and I'll let you be the judge. About 20% of the population has gastrointestinal problems, nausea, constipation, diarrhea, pain, and today symptoms are being treated. And we capture from clinicians that a big improvement could come from reliable diagnosis by having sensors that travel through the gastrointestinal tract. And that way you could go for far more targeted treatment and even change treatment to sustain its effectiveness. That's one big area of applications. A second one is all the inflammatory bowel diseases, where Crohn's and celiacs and so on, where there's a real need to capture inflammation markers early on, because early diagnosis is critical for improved outcomes. Also, the ability to track the progression of disease and to monitor the effect of interventions requires a sensor that could be able to monitor inside the GI tract. And third, a very different area, we know that our gut microbiota has an important effect on our health. And monitoring that is really complex today. Now, if we are able to monitor the metabolites, the short-chain fatty acids, we already get an important indication of that functioning of the gut microbiome. And so creating sensors that are able to capture this will enable us to give general health status information or advice, nutritional advice, dietary advice, and so on. So an ingestible sensor has a lot of potential, and we claim nanoelectronics is going to make it possible, but is it just a nice picture on a slideshow, or can this be pulled off, and can we really enable these diverse applications? It's a good question, and the challenges are huge. You have to bring a lab inside a pill, miniaturization, factor 10 or 100 times. Now that's precisely what chip technology is good at. Another challenge is the GI track is a tough place to be in. It's not a friendly environment. You need materials to protect the sensors. You need fluidics. You need sampling of solids. Can this be done? Well, also there, chip technology can be an answer. And in a matter of 2 years since we started at Oneplanet, we turned that PowerPoint picture into initially crude versions and then more and more advanced prototypes. Simple at first and complete wireless systems at the moment. And this is where we are today. What you see here, an ingestible, the size of a standard FDA size 1 capsule. Today we do in ex vivo validation in a representative environment and achieve a sufficient battery life to go through one normal transit. And to prepare the pathway to human health and animal well-being as well, we are preparing everything by means of the SHIME system, in vitro GI system in place at Wageningen. And our plans are to be able to do in vivo tests by the end of the year, beginning of next year, and over the next 3 years, with researchers at Wageningen and at Radboud, we want to conduct a number of application studies and then work with partners like yourself to bring these devices through regulatory approval and to the market. Now, early warning and early detection require some type of long-term monitoring. And apart from maybe a weight scale, it's really hard to ask a person to measure something every day. It should be nearly invisible, like in a bathroom or like the toilet, a place people visit every day. This could be great for a daily checkup. And at Oneplanet, we are creating sensor approaches that do just that. And we look at, can we capture dehydration? Can we detect blood in urine? Can we capture markers for disease? Can we capture flu-like symptoms? And the platform we're building is doing just that. And we hope to have a minimum viable product in the coming year. And then over the next 3 to 5 years, create additional versions for more and more complex applications. And we think at that point, your bathroom mirror will truly talk back to you and give you feedback and answers. Now, as I hinted already, the hardware alone cannot do everything. It cannot exist without the analytics, and also there innovations are needed and partnering is needed. It's not software as usual, it requires innovations. Just like humans learn by rules and experience, creating digital twins will really require supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement learning and innovations in this space, because these digital twins today don't exist. But we are creating the models and we are creating a cloud platform, and in the coming months we'll tell you more about how this will become accessible to a broader group of partners, companies, and so on. And if you think this all sounds like it's for large international companies, no, that's not the case. Our aim is to really work with local SMEs, innovate with and for SMEs, conduct living labs to de-risk technology and bring them to market because there's so many opportunities. And apart from what I covered, we're active also in food and agriculture. So if you want to know more about it, talk to us. If we think we can help, we'll tell you. If we think we can't help, we'll be honest too. So let's build this future together. And as you know, the best way to predict the future is by creating it. So let's create it together. Work with Oneplanet and let's innovate. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, normally I would ask for a round of applause in this case, but I was thinking for deaf people, they always use like this, so maybe we can all give an applause for the presentation. Maybe one question to you, Chris. If you look at the things that you're planning to do for the next years in OnePlanet, what do you think is the most promising technologies you're working on that will give a big effect in healthcare?
That's a it's a good question, huh? And I would say, particularly since you ask in the coming years, let's not look 5 or 10 years ahead, and let's look shorter term. And there, particularly the wearable platforms where we have so much experience and validation, these are really going to have a lot of impact. It's not the fitness trackers, as I showed, it's towards mental well-being, it's towards pain, and using them to give feedback to people. This can have a big impact in the short term. Definitely the ingestibles that I showed, more 5 to 10 years from now, have huge potential, because the GI tract is still so much a black box at the individual level. So we think it will be truly transformative, but that will come, let's say, more half a decade to a decade from now.
Yeah. And of course, in all of these, data collection and making sense out of it is one of the most important things, probably.
Yes. For which we need to collaborate. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We want to go together with partners, with companies to get there.
Clear. Let's go together. Very good. Thank you, Chris. Then I would like to move to Hans Nindiker from Evido. There you are.
Mute my screen. Can you see my screen?
Not yet, no.
I see your screen.
Let's share. Start again.
Now I see it. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I want to talk about patient empowerment and collaborative care with the IMEC, as Chris already mentioned. It's now used as a mental tracking health device, which we can track, for instance, where the stress, people with stress, and help them with chronic stress improvement. We work together with IMEC and OnePlanet in this case, and Noldes. Noldes provides us with how the information is gathered, but also how the information can be used in PGOs, because Ivido is a PGO, personal health record, which is introduced now in the Netherlands as a new system. And I am also governor of the HINC Corporation, and I will tell you something about how this collaborates together in the field of the patient empowerment and collaborative care. We are helping the Netherlands creating a new environment in the Dutch healthcare system to participant by the patients and the prevention and promotion of health, but also to create network healthcare. I started that with in the chronic pain, from the chronic pain where we started to create a PGO in the Dutch healthcare system, and now we have created also something which is part of the Dutch exchange of the digital healthcare system. We need a digital healthcare system and a transition in that, because now a lot of patients are not able to collect their data, to use their data, to healthcare data, and cannot be part of the healthcare system in its full potential. And we have also a lot of problems in the exchange of information, healthcare information in the healthcare field, which which may protect us from optimal healthcare patient journeys and collaboration in the healthcare field. There's a new set of regulations now set, and that's the MEDMI afsprakenstelsel, as we call it. And it's a little bit of alternative of the national APD, the national devices, where we can have two parts of one of that is the PGO. That's the personal health record, where you can collect all your medical information from all your healthcare providers, there's medical specialists, your general practitioners, but so you have a full record of your own, which you can be used for your own rights, and you can exchange that also with other people, but also with your medical, with your with the people where you're in your in your treatment relationship for your medical specialists or general practitioners. At the other side, we have the Dutch healthcare system, the electronic health records, which have to exchange information to the PGOs and exchange information to each other, so we can more collaborate, have a collaboration between healthcare providers in healthcare networks. What we created now is a PGO. It's called IVIDO, in which we collect all the information and we can combine that with patient-generated data, for example, from the CHIL, and then we can also make that information, that data can be used to explain that and educate the people in their PGOs. At the other side, we have a collaborative healthcare system where all kinds of professionals collaborate together in what we call the ZNO, the zorgnetwerkomgeving, in which the information, standardized information, in zorginformatiebouwsteen, as we call it in the MEDMI system, can be collected and can be used to make it, to combine that together to an integral dossier, integral personal health record, and combine it also with the personal generated data from the PGOs. That way it can be used to create a blended care healthcare system where you communicate with your patients in a digital way, with a full record of your dossier, medical dossier, also with your personal generated data, and use that in several use cases as which we provide with this system. For example, the project we are now working on is for patients with chronic pain. You can measure them, and have chronic stress also. You can measure them with the IMEC CHIL. You can sample the data in your PGO and collect it in your PGO, and also combine that with information from your healthcare systems, for example, from your GPs or your medication information, and together with all that information, you can create a dossier where you can use to do research on, based on the FAIR principles. So we combine a lot of information in PGOs and in the ZNO, and it's all data which is standardized in international standards. We also do that with not only with objective data, so from the CHIL, but also with our patient experience, the more subjective information about patients with mood swings and bipolar disorders, and combine that also with the patient who has who feel some things and think how they are feeling and have a mood swing, and also combine that with the objectified information from STES from the IMEC, and combine that also with the medical information, and make it accessible for example, for the therapists to monitor these patients in real life situations. So what we are using now to create with the Inge 3, the collaboration we are in with IMEC and OnePlanet and Knowles to maximize the usability of the information gathered from a Chill Plus, from such as Chill Plus health tracking device, to improve healthcare, to monitor, and to create a more proactive healthcare system within the patient has his own role and has his and the therapist and the general practitioner can monitor the patient at home and use that to give the patients better treatments for their problems like chronic pain and mood swings. So this is my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Hans. Maybe short applause again by everybody. Thank you. There's somebody that asked a question, Roel van Viel, who will pay for these information systems? Short question maybe, because we are short on time.
Yeah, the PGOs are paid for by the Ministry of VWS. Every user of a PGO will be paid by VWS.
Okay. Considering time, I now would like to go to Martijn Vastenburg from Connected Care. I'm not sure if I see you at this moment in the screen. Yes.
You can't see me?
Yes, I can see you now.
Okay. So not only the presentation, but also me, right?
Yes, correct.
Super.
The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So my name is Martijn Vastenburg. I started the company Connected Care, and I'm also working as assistant professor at Radboud University. In this short presentation, I'd like to tell you about a new product we're working on. It's called Liz, and Liz is a food coach. And I want to tell you a bit about why we started the project, where we are, and what the next steps are. So first about the company, we're a small e-health design agency, about 8 people working on design innovations. We're very experienced in EU R&D projects and also in national projects. And basically our strength is in, well, developing new concepts and new product ideas, and then together with bigger commercial partners, we prepare market entry. For many years, I've been working on web-based platforms to support elderly at home and to organize informal care and formal care. But one of the big challenges that we faced at the time was that, in particular, the frail seniors, they were a hard target group to reach. And even though we were organizing care for them, it was very hard to involve them in the process. So even though the family and the caregivers were involved, the frail seniors were not involved in the organization process. And we started thinking about new ways of including also the frail seniors. And at the same time, we started talking to Han, University of Applied Science, and I talked to a lecturer on nutrition. And they explained to us that it would be great if we could focus more on improving healthy lifestyle, and in particular focusing on the food challenge, and finding new ways to basically help these frail seniors improve their nutritional behavior. And that, for us, it was a trigger to start thinking about how we could use technology as a way to support lifestyle changes and to support healthy aging. And in the approach that we follow, we consider technology as a tool. So we're not developing standalone devices that do the job. We think about technology as a tool that's part of the existing process where care professionals help people in need of care, and that the technology is used as a means for them to improve the process. And doing so, we're looking at the process from people, well, first starting to acknowledge that they have a problem, towards behavior change and monitoring progress and adapting the goals. So in the project, well, we're focusing on seniors who are in the process of, well, getting older and getting more frail. And one of the problems that they're facing is many elderly, they have a decreased appetite. So for example, they skip breakfast and they don't feel like they have to take breakfast. They don't eat enough and they don't eat the right things. And because of that, well, the state of health is decreasing. And in the current setting, most of the times they end up visiting a dietitian, and a dietitian together with the seniors will check what's the current, what's the challenge, what's the particular challenge for this patient, and they think about the food plan and a treatment plan. But the problem that the dietitians explained to us was the dietitians, they have very limited time talking to the patient. And between the moments they talk to the patients, it's really hard to see what's happening in the home of the seniors. So even though they can make a good plan, it's hard to see if people really adhere to the agreements that have been made. And in particular for the target group of frail seniors, developing a web app or an app for an iPhone is not exactly the right thing to do. They're not eager to use a phone, let alone use a phone to help remind them to eat healthy and to do the things they have to do. So that's why we started thinking of how we can basically wrap the digital application in a way that's more accessible for this target group. And first we started looking at social robotics to see if we can get a more natural and proactive interaction with the senior. So the original idea was we have the social robot, let's say a tabletop robot in the home of the senior, and the tabletop robot could provide reminders and could collect information. In our first test, let's say the quality of the existing social robots, it was rather limited. So the quality of speech recognition was not that good. There was quite a bit of delay in communication, and it was often not clear to the seniors what they were expected to do. And that's when we made a twist and we developed Liz. So rather than using an off-the-shelf product, we developed our own wrapper based on a tablet, but from the patient perspective, it's not a tablet, but it's, well, their food companion. And Liz collects data through self-reports. So it will ask people if they had dinner, what their weight is, how they're feeling. And based on the settings defined by the professional, it will give reminders and collect data in time. And also the professional can provide information on food and recipes. And this is accessible through Liz. And Liz is provided to the seniors by the dietitian. So the dietitian introduces the product, and inside the home of the senior, it will remind and collect data. And somehow, if I show pictures like this, people think it's only about the screen on the belly, but it's also the face and the hands that are moving and their speech output. So it's more than just an information display. In our concept, we've been thinking a lot about how the digital coach can collaborate with the professional coach. But then we realized that another very important source of information, and not only information, but also, let's say, as an actor towards the patient, is the family and the informal network. So we include the family and we include friends in collecting data, like they can tell us how things are going or if they see something which is different from normal. But they can also take action and, for example, invite the senior for dinner together. So we involve them and keep them updated so they can take their steps if needed. And the dietitian receives updates through email and through a web interface, and based on the updates, they can update the treatment plan, but they can also decide to communicate, to call one of the patients if something is happening which is quite different from what they expected. And towards the senior, we're trying to involve them as much as possible. And some of the seniors, they are more like from a distance involved. And some of them, they even go to the web application to see how they're doing. And we're currently at the stage of well, the early trials. So we have several patients now using the device. And well, first of all, we're testing if everything is working from a technical perspective, but also from a UX perspective. And I want to share with you some of the early findings that we have. And first of all, we realized again that we have to segment the patient group. So part of the patient group is really open to these solutions, and some of them, they just aren't open to these solutions, and some of them might better use an app. But in my perception, in the frail senior group, the number of people being able to use the app is rather small. So the type of application that LIS can offer fits better the needs of them. And in the early tests, we had a patient saying already after a day, please get the device out, this is not for me. But at the same day, we had another patient saying I never want to take part from this list because it's really in addition to my life. From the caregiver perspective, they value the approach of the tool being collaborative and them collaborating with the device. And the easy gain was they really liked that they could use the tool to monitor progress and much better individualize and personalize the treatment plan. And even though we were at first a bit skeptical on how this could be financed, the dietitians, they say it's rather doable because using the tool, they can more easily see when a patient needs extra care, and they do get reimbursement for that. So there's a mechanism for them to be able to pay for a product like this. And technology-wise, well, obviously there is a big challenge in making the interaction acceptable, and we're making the device, well, proactive, but it not in your face. So we're trying to find the right balance there, and that's quite a bit of designing and improving in time. Well, towards getting this to market, one of the big challenges is how can we reach the target group, and how do we get the required expertise from all the different domains. So far, we've been working together already with Han and with 3 universities, so all different perspectives like domain perspective and technological perspective, and also with companies like Smart Robot Solutions and Smart Tray and Salute in order to see how we can package this as a product and how we can find synergies with existing ecosystems. And obviously, we're very happy that we have few innovative care organizations who are willing to share their experiences and provide access to their patients. And I do want to emphasize that first we were located in a different area of the Netherlands. Now we're based in Nijmegen, and it's really a strong ecosystem here with a lot of potential for e-health innovations, including OnePlanet, helping us to build the network, matchmaking with other innovations, and helping with business development. And my final call for action is we're looking for partners from other domains than nutrition to help us see where we can apply the coach. And we're looking for partners who are willing to participate in the validation of LIS in the food domain. Thank you.
Thank you, Martijn. We could take share to share that information. And of course, applause, warm applause, everybody, please. We are a bit running short on time, but maybe a short question. If you look at that Chris said in the beginning, an apple a day or an apple a day keeps the doctor away. But we know, of course, that often there's a big difference in how that reacts to different social economic status. Did you look at, did you take that into account if you can reach all kinds of target groups in this?
Well, one of the things we're looking at now is if we can have different versions of LIS to address people with different migration backgrounds. So we're looking at this part of the challenge, and looking at the low social economical status. We think this more like natural interaction works better than purely app-based interaction. So we do expect it will work, but it's a challenge.
Yeah, clear. Thank you. There's one question now I see is how do you evaluate whether your app is effective? If you can give a short answer on that.
Well, the short answer is we ask the dietitians if they think it's an addition to the care process.
Okay, that sounds a good idea. Okay, thank you. Then I would like to go to Harry van Goor. I'm looking if I can see him somewhere on my screen. He's already sharing.
You can see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen. The floor is yours.
Okay. So I can go ahead, Martijn. Okay.
Already muted, you can go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I will share you some experience with an early collaboration with continuous monitoring at the hospital, and share you the journey, tell a little bit about the journey we did, and then also the lessons we learned. And the continuous monitoring wearable we are talking about is VisiMobile, and VisiMobile is from Sotera, which is a USA-based company. And the reason why we chose for this device is that it was at that time the only FDA-approved blood pressure measurement, and we wanted to have blood pressure measurement in our vital sign wearable, because we thought that at that time this was better for the transition from, let's say, traditional blood pressure measurement and vital sign measurement into this new device. What we did first is to orientate ourselves in the US, 2 hospitals where we learned about how to staff in your own hospital from different disciplines, your project group, to go ahead with this type of innovation. At that time, the 2 hospitals we visited were actually the only one, and they had installed their continuous monitoring, their screens, like you see here, on the nurse station. And but still they were taking 3 times a day. They were written over from the vital signs they saw on the screen. They put it in Epic. So it was rather combining a traditional into with newer care forms. And then we also get acquainted with a UK company which said that they had the predictive analytics and a new score, like shown here. You see in green that all the patients below 3, they were in what they claim a status of a calm weather, and they had no problems at that time. We started with a pilot, and as you can see here, we didn't go for an internet connection. We had a laptop near the bed of the patient, and this is the device. And the nice thing with this pilot is that we first said we only want to look at feasibility and usability and acceptability of patients and nurses. And one of the good things we did, we think, is that we involved the nurses. And we experienced before that when doctors are very enthusiastic about technologies, but we have to say that the nurses have to work with the technology, then it's better from the beginning to involve the nurses. And now at this moment, after 3-4 years, it is the nurses are taking the lead in this and bringing further this technology. And also we ask our patients a lot, and we interview them. What we also learned is that the technology is one, but the dashboard you have to look at is second. And you see here a pilot study we're doing with this same UK company who has this new score, and now they present to us a new dashboard, and our nurses are doing surveys how they see the dashboard, what the dashboard is like, did they like the dashboard, and they give recommendations for improvement. And as you can see now with this dashboard, you can imagine that one of the survey questions, does it calm you down? That nurses are saying, no, it stressed me more, this type of dashboard. What we also did is that we extensively, comprehensively looked at like I said, the feasibility and the usability. So we were not from the beginning very interested in efficacy. And that brought us a lot further because we had conflicting results. We thought this is the ideal thing. You don't have to measure anything. But what happened is that the nurses said to us, some nurses said, it decreases my workload. But other nurses said, well, I have to calibrate every day. There are technical failures, there are false alarms. So I think I have an increased workload. And then there was also a difference of opinion between daytime and evening time and nighttime. Then also we expected a little bit, but it was very confronted that a lot of nurses at the surgical ward said that they didn't want this technology, because then they were afraid that they get more former ICU patients on their ward, so that ICU would send the patients earlier back to their ward. Others were saying that it was more supportive and that they could, with the trends, they say it was supporting their care more. And then what we experience now after 3 years, that the nurses are so acquainted with the equipment that when there are some battery failures and they have a shortage of the Visimobiles, that they don't want to, they are very, let's say, anxious, because they don't want to turn back and they don't know how to turn back, because you have to realize that they maybe take care of 4 patients and then 3 have this Visimobile automatic continuous monitoring, and they have to think about, okay, this other patient, this 4th patient, I have to do it in a traditional way. And then, like I said, dashboard matters. Then from the patient side, the majority said it's good because I sleep better, because they don't have to disturb me anymore in the night. And but some patients didn't say I didn't feel safety. I had more worries about, because I constantly could see my values, and that worried me. And then maybe the family member at home said, well, but I'm not worried, because now I know that you are in good hands with you, because you have continuous monitoring. Then the other thing is, what we didn't expect, that patients with this Visimobile experience that doctors and nurses were more concentrated on the vital signs and on the person behind the vital signs. So I'm not my values. This was a quote we heard a lot. And then also people said, I want to have my pain on it and not my blood pressure, because my pain is much more important to me at the moment than my blood pressure. So I'm more than my values. So there was a problem of information overload, not only the patients, but also the nurses. Let me see. Obviously, we also have to do scientific studies and to look at efficacy. And what we found studying more than 3,000 and now 5,000 monitored patients is that we see more patients with continuous monitoring that have a high early warning score, which means that we detect now earlier and more patients that we didn't before. And then also there's about 1/3 less of rapid response teams actions and also unplanned intensive care admittance. So you would say this is very good. And then obviously, when you want to go from a pilot to production and you want to scale up in your own hospital, you have to make a business case. And then in the business case, the indicator for to give this a positive business case means that you can do with with 3 ICU beds less. But the problem is, if you work in a hospital where the money is going to the surgical department and the medical department, and you gain it on the ICU department, then you have a lot of discussions who is going to pay for this Visimobile. So this is very obvious in care, that the ones who invest in an innovation is not the one who gets a return from the innovation. But anyway, I can tell you that our board of directors last January said we are going to have this as a routine, and but then the next step is that we as doctors are thinking about how can we put in, and we are going back in a pilot phase anymore again for the data-driven care support, which means that we have to put a lot of energy now in this predictive analytics. So what did we learn? What is good is early involvement of all users, and you would say this is pretty obviously, but we know that a lot of people are not doing that. And you have to involve all users, which means not only the ones that are, let's say, in the first circle, but you have to involve a lot of people, and preferably real patients, so not volunteer patients. And then put caregiver in the leads. So prevent you from coming up with a solution, and then we say, what is the problem? And then also we had this experience with not crossing borders. We thought at the end, when we said we now have the evidence that it's not a pilot anymore in our scientific way of speaking, then the people from the IM, from the IT, but also from the medical device department said, but for all us, it's still a pilot, because when we are able to have standard operative procedures and a 24/7 service behind it, then for us, it's taken into production. And then please know that technology affects individuals, but also the individual affects technology. So be very inclusive with all your end users. It means that it's very easy to have your technology for high educated people or for people that are not vulnerable, but when you have vulnerable people, minorities, people with a low social economic income, it's a completely different ballgame. And you have to take that into mind with developing of your technology. And then it's all about feasibility, usability, acceptability. So it's all about feasibility, usability, acceptability before you go to cost effectiveness. And then the other thing is, what we learned also is that benefit is not the same as impact. We could say, okay, we speak a lot about, hey, in the Radboud we have this continuous monitoring on the ward. It benefits your pay, but it does only hardly make impact, because somehow other hospitals are not taking this over, which means that the impact is not very large at the moment, and we need more collaboration with other hospitals and maybe also with other private partners. And then, like I said, the payer is commonly not the beneficiary. And the message I want to give to you, also the private partners, that we should more focus on care innovation and not technology innovation. It's very easy to have a technology tool and then think, okay, this is an innovation, but you have to look at how is this technology working to make it a real care innovation. And for that reason, I'm not looking at the horizon anymore. I'm looking around for existing technology, for maybe technology that in the first 3 or 4 TRL 3 or 4 phase, and then bring this together and then see if this integrated technology can have a real care innovation and can have impact and upscaling qualities. So that's what I wanted to talk at the end of this meeting. Thank you, Martijn.
Thank you very much, Harry. Maybe warm round of applause. I have if you look at Oneplanet and all the things that are happening there, Harry, if you look at, if you would give one advice on what you think is the most important area in healthcare that that we all should be working on in this relation to this.
I think the most important work is a real patient, not patient-centered, patient's need in the center. And this may be a little bit philosophical, but we shouldn't put the patient in the center, because then the patient is surrounded by other people and feels threatened. We should put the patient need in the center, and then the patient is in the circle around together with the provider, together with the hospital, etc. And this is, I really mean this, because if you look then at virtual connected care, it means that the patient is on the same level going on board of an electronic patient system. And still, when I hear, and I like the presentation from the video from Hans very much, but still you see it's different on the patient side than on the provider side. And we are still looking at digital technologies that are that is in the way that providers think about what is the technology I want to use to reach the patient. And I think we should have a standalone technology, put it in the cloud, and the patient and the provider has the same rights, the same entrance to go in that electronic patient record. So that's really patient need centered.
Yeah, very good. There was one other question, and Chris already answered it a bit through the chat, but I think that it's quite an important one to say something for the group. If we talk about these kinds of technologies, we are creating all kinds of technologies to collect data, all kinds of sensors, and of course, a big issue in that world is always interoperability. As the telephone companies always had a problem, if you have different standards, you cannot call each other, which wouldn't work out in the end, so it would not become a success. And I think also, if you look at all these sensor data, we need ways to take care that things can be comparable. Because often there are different ontologies, there are different qualities of data, different intervals and things like that. How do you look at the standardization around that kind of data collection, Chris?
Is that a question to me?
Oh, sorry, it was a question to Chris.
Thank you, Martin. Yes, that's definitely not a question that has an easy answer, because it is one of the challenges. We're sitting in Europe on a lot of health data, and we're doing less with it than we could because of the interoperability challenges. Also the diverse sources, some is episodic and not even structured, and so on. I don't have a general answer for that. We look rather application specific. What do you need to solve a particular application in metabolic health, for example, and which minimum sets of parameters and data sources do you need to bring together? So I would say we're trying to not bite more than we can chew by looking at individual challenges. But I would say overall, what is not the answer is to say, let's put all the data together somewhere. That won't work. You either have to do federated learning or run analytics on diverse data sources, because bringing them together is, from an ownership point of view, from a security point of view, not the answer. But with this, I'm not giving a complete answer, I'm giving a partial answer, and I realize.
We have to find out in the next years what the real answer should be, probably. But that's a nice challenge. Okay, unless there are still questions from somebody. There's one comment, but I think we'll skip that one for now. I would like to thank all the presenters for their interesting presentations. Let's give one last round of applause. It's, by the way, it gives a nice figure on the screen. I think I think we keep that also in the future. Thank you all for your presentation. For those who stay for the networking, please stay online, and you will be placed by Marion in a breakout room with some random strangers, which can sometimes be nice. See you all next time. 11th of April, we have a special, 11th of March, we have a special broadcast from Health Valley event around the speerpunten, the focal areas in healthcare in Nijmegen, digital health, drug discovery, and healthy brain. And on the 22nd of April, we have our InnoBoot seminar, which will deal with food and health and the combination of those two and how important that is. So you're of course all invited to those two. With that, I would like to conclude this SMB meeting. I'm afraid the next meetings will still be digital again, but I do hope that before the summer we will be able to maybe not shake hands, but at least come together in physical sense. Thank you all, and see you maybe in the breakout room. Bye-bye.